Reuben, Minshew Mania, it is here. Finally here. Minshew Mania, get on board, right?
Yeah, he played really well, and you kind of thought he would. Look, against this defense, against this team, he's a veteran guy. He hasn't hasn't practiced or played with these receivers and wasn't in training camp, so there was a little bit of question. But I was impressed. He did everything he had to do.
He did, and the Eagles win the game. They go into the bye week. Right now, right at the edge of that playoff spot, this is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan with Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. Rube took my booth in MetLife Stadium, the one I used last week. Old number 7 is mine. You took it, but we're back here in the stadium again. A much different outcome, a much different feel to this podcast, honestly, than we had a week ago. It was a big win for them.
It was kind of a weird game. The Jets, who have the worst offense in the league, scoring touchdowns on their first 3 drives. Now, one of them was a short drive after a long punt return, but the Eagles' offense just kept matching them, and then the Eagles' defense finally kind of started getting stops, and the Eagles kept scoring. There were field goals, but they got enough points to win. So it was a strange game. The first game in Eagles history where they allowed 3 touchdowns in a first half and then didn't allow any points in a second half, which is a little surprising, but stat head never lies. There was a lot to like about the game, and we'll get to some of the things, but they for the most part they played smart. They were really shorthanded. No Jordan Howard. Boston Scott was up and got on the field, but he didn't have a role. And Jack Driscoll obviously out at right guard, so Herbie's in there. But the thing kept rolling. He scored 33 points, and I really this team's 4-1 in their last 5 games after a loss, which I think is really impressive. This is not a great team, and this isn't the most talented team we've ever seen, but it takes some deep inside character and inner strength to bounce back like they have, and they're 4-2 since coming back from Vegas, when it would have been understandable if they just kind of mailed it in at that point. They were 2-5. Nothing was going well. They were getting. They weren't just losing; they were getting killed. So they've kind of they've righted the ship. They're not a great team. They still are on the outside looking in as far as the postseason, but there's a lot to like about them and what they've been able to do without the most talented group of players.
Yeah, it was definitely a nice bounce back win for them. It wasn't always pretty, but they got it done.
It wasn't ever pretty.
Oh, no, there were times it was pretty on offense, at least.
Yeah.
So we want to go through the quarterback situation and what this game means going forward. We'll talk about the run game. The Eagles ran the ball very well again, even without the threat of Jalen Hurts. We'll talk about the defense, the up and down game there, and then Dave's negativity corner to finish the pod later. But Rube, the big news coming out of the game is Gardner Minshew. Yes, he played a great game. Jalen Hurts still the Eagles starter. Nick Sirianni pulls no punches there. For a guy who really likes competitive advantage, you and I were talking during the game, how's he going to play this? He played it the way I think he needed to, as long as they feel this way, and that's the way they feel, that Jalen Hurts is still their starter. So he didn't try to say, well, we have 2 weeks to figure that out. No, Jalen's their starter. When he's healthy, he's going to be the quarterback.
And he also said he expects him to be healthy for the Washington game 2 weeks from today, which is really good sign. And I think he handled it the right way. We talked about this, I think, at some point in the third quarter or something. If how does he balance that? He's always talking about competitive advantage. He won't tell you who the punter is, for crying out loud. So which kind of but he also wants to avoid any quarterback controversy. So which urge pulls the strongest? The competitive advantage one. Let's not announce a quarterback until 2 weeks from today, before the game, or do I just want to eliminate the noise, eliminate the chaos, and just make it clear? I think he handled it absolutely the right way, and I think I love the way Minshew played, and I haven't loved the way Jalen has played. Obviously, the Giants game, but even a couple of weeks before that. He's done some good things, some bad things, but it's still the right decision. It's the right thing to do. I think we know who Gardner Minshew is, and we know what he can do. But I think we still need to learn about Jalen Hurts. I think there's still I think these last 4 games are going to be really, really valuable in evaluating him when the season's over. And I just think every opportunity you have to do that. Now, it's a shame for him because, look, this is probably the worst team other than the Lions that the Eagles will face, and the Lions won today. So, you kind of feel bad he can get a chance to bounce back against the Jets after a disaster against the Giants. But, he's got 4 games to show us what kind of player he is. Gardner Minshew did things that Jalen hasn't done as far as he got the ball, he spread the ball around, he threw to the backs. I thought he was very quick in his decision-making. When there was pressure, he just dumped it off or threw it away. Obviously, he's a different kind of player, and he doesn't have that, that thing in his head saying, should I run? Should I stand in the pocket? Should I throw? So, I thought he did the right thing. He made the right decisions. I thought the mid-range game, which hasn't really been there, that was really big. I mean, the mid-range game was huge. So there's a lot to like. And he did things Jalen doesn't do. But Jalen also runs for 70 yards a game and opens up a lot of things in the passing game with his running ability. So Minshew was terrific against a really bad team. And I think going forward with Hurts is the right thing to do. Although I was really impressed by the way Gardner played today.
Yeah, it felt like in the second half, I know this isn't what they did, but it felt like Nick was like, I better run the ball and not like Gardner throw for 4 tutties in this game. I mean, you could feel like, and as much as he wants to eliminate any talk about a quarterback controversy, we know this city and it's still going to be there. I mean, the team's going to have to deal with it. But I did appreciate the way he came out and just said, like, of course, like, why would that even be a question? It's a question because we've seen, especially the timing of it just kind of stinks for Jalen Hurts because he plays, his worst game against the Giants, gets hurt, and then the Jets are on the schedule. And, I don't think it was a shock that Minshew looked pretty good against this team and this defense. So I give him credit, though. And I think there are lessons for Hurts from this game with Gardner. I was surprised that they still did a lot of the same things offensively, but it was a different offense in some ways. I mean, a lot of the read plays weren't there, obviously. That was probably the biggest change. But watching, Gardner on a third down, dump it off to the backs, there were some plays where you thought, well, Jalen probably takes off running and maybe he picks up a first down. Maybe he doesn't. And you kind of live and die with that when it comes to Jalen. There's some really good plays because of his legs. And then there are times where the play design doesn't get a chance to unfurl all the way because of his legs. So do you agree with that, Rube? Do you think there are some things that we saw from Gardner in this game that might be able to transfer to Jalen a little bit?
I think so. And it was interesting how much even Gardner said, and Nick, obviously, they both said that, being on the sideline can help Jalen. He can learn from watching Gardner Minshew, and Nick talked about how valuable the time is. And Jalen was on the bench and he was engaged in the game, and obviously he didn't suit up. He wasn't active. But
I want to hit on that real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
I'm a big believer in body language. So I spent a lot of my afternoon, and it was tough because Jalen had the normal inactive guy garb on, so it was tough to identify him. But I was trying to watch him as much as I could. I was really impressed by his body language. I guess it's a little different because he didn't get benched; he was injured. But watching him on the sideline helping Gardner, he was the first guy on the sideline to congratulate him after the first touchdown pass. So he wasn't just engaged; he was trying to help, and he did. I think Nick Sirianni said it, but I believe it too. He did the things you want to see from your leader. And look, none of that stuff's ever been in question with Jalen Hurts, but this is our first chance to really see him in that type of situation. So I was impressed by that.
Do you want to compare him to any other backup?
No, I do not.
Over the last 11 months or so?
No.
It couldn't have been easy for him. I mean, look, he's trying to lay a claim to that job, and he's watching this guy who wasn't even here in training camp come in and light up the Jets. And it can't be easy. It's like, hey, that was my touchdown. That was my big play. But hopefully he does. I think there are lessons to be learned. I think there are things he can gain from watching Minshew. I mean, obviously their games are so different. And, I think running is going to be a big part of Hurts' game for, at least a little while, at least a few years. Who knows how much he'll be playing and all that. But, like, I think most great running quarterbacks eventually, really become less and less and less reliant on their legs. They get older, they're not as fast. They learn that a 15-yard pass and get out of the way is a lot safer. I mean, so we've talked about that, but hopefully he does learn. And I think getting the ball to the running backs. I mean, I think Miles had 3 catches and Gainwell had 5. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the running backs have had 8 catches this year, maybe total. Definitely not in a game. It was good. I mean, Gainwell's such a good receiver, so I think those are things Jalen can learn from. And
those are plays for Minshew. Like that was one of the things I kind of expected from him, was that a play breaks down, his safety valve is a lot different than Jalen's. So I think we saw that. Absolutely.
And and we saw Minshew, and I don't want this to be like, I'm not being critical of Jalen. They're just different. And we saw Minshew look off receivers and go through his progression in ways that Jalen really hasn't done. These are all things that, as time goes on, he needs to add to his game. So, I was impressed with Minshew. I've been impressed in very, very different ways with Hurts. It's a crazy situation. I mean,
it adds to it that they're playing the Jets, and that's where they traded their backup. If they don't trade Joe Flacco to the Jets, then they don't have Gardner Minshew as their back. Like, the whole thing is really strange.
And I think that, the wild card here is we don't know who the Eagles quarterback is going to be next year. And, there's been so much talk about trading for a guy, drafting a guy, giving Hurts another year, seeing how he develops. But Minshew's under contract for next year, and I don't think it's likely, but I don't think it's out of the question that he could be in the mix. Either, maybe there's open competition. I just don't know. But, he played well enough today, Sunday, that I'm sure it's in the back of – and look, I mean, his career, he's now gotten 39 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. I mean, he's not a great quarterback, but he's a pretty good backup. And, I don't know what his ceiling is. I mean, he was surrounded by awful team in Jacksonville, so you don't really know how to evaluate that. But he played well enough today that I wouldn't sit here on December 5th or whatever today is and rule him out as being in the mix next year. And I think that's kind of, I think today puts that
I'd be really shocked.
I wouldn't be shocked, but I'd be surprised. But I think it is something that's in the mix. I think it's in the mix.
Maybe. Either way, he's a fun guy.
Yes, he is.
There's just the magic probably runs out at a certain point if you have to start him each week, but it's fun. I mean, there was a vibe in pregame knowing everyone was going to get a chance to see this guy, and a lot of it's a little goofy, the mustache and the whole Gardner Minshew thing, but it is fun. I think his teammates enjoyed it. He's a fun guy. He's a different personality than Jalen, not better or worse, just very different. He was asked about his I think he did. I tweeted it, but I think he set an Eagles press conference record for dropping the most dudes in a 10-minute press conference. But he's an interesting guy. He's a different. He's sitting there talking. And you're looking at him like, how is this guy an NFL quarterback? He breaks the mold a little bit, but he's fun.
Yeah, I think it was 13 dudes and 6 bros. So, dude, bro, what are you talking about? Yeah, he's different, but it's all about the production, and it was there. It was there. I mean, they scored on their first 7 drives. You'd like to get some more touchdowns. They didn't score a touchdown after the third one, but he kept the pressure on. They really had good field position pretty much all day. The one drive that when Jalen kind of oopsed at the 3-yard line, but the offense. I mean, the offense rolled, and he has. I thought Nick again called a great game. I thought
he got too conservative in the second half.
maybe a little bit, but you know what? For this game, for this opponent, I thought
Yeah,
it was
it
the right thing
worked.
to do.
We were talking. I don't think I've ever seen, and this is off topic. I don't think I've ever seen a team have, what was it, 1350 to 110 time of possession in the third quarter. That's insane.
There were 27 plays in the third quarter, and the Eagles ran 24 of them.
Yeah.
So you know what? They were very conservative, but the Jets weren't going to stop them. I just thought it made the most sense. They never really gashed the Jets, but they gradually started wearing them down a little bit. I mean, if they had Jordan Howard and Boston Scott and Jalen Hurts, they might have run for 400 yards today. To run for 185, and this can be our little segue here. To run for 185 without Jordan Howard, without Boston Scott, without Jalen Hurts, it's incredible. I mean, that's 3 of your 4 leading rushers didn't have a carry. I mean, 2 of them didn't play, and 1 of them didn't have a touch. It was Miles and Gainwell, and then Gardner had a few yards, and they still hit 185. I mean, that's 6 straight games with 185 yards. That hasn't been done in the NFL by any team in 36 years. It was the 85 Bears, and they had Walter Payton. I mean, this team has Kenny Gainwell. They had Walter Payton, and and the greatest defense ever assembled. So they were always up 30-0. They just run the ball. It's really an incredible thing. This is the best run offense in the NFL in three and a half decades. The last time the Eagles ran for 185 6 straight games was 1949 when they won the NFL championship, their second in a row. So I think what we're seeing is that, yes, the running backs are good, Miles, Jordan, Boston, Gainwell, but the O-line is the star of this offense. And that O-line is there no matter who the backs are, no matter who the quarterback is, whoever's playing. And this is with Nate Herbig, who is not Jack Driscoll, who is not Brandon Brooks. So you're on your third right guard. It's really incredible. This is such a dominating run line, and it's a shame it took Nick a month to figure that out. But I don't think I've ever enjoyed watching an offensive line run block like this one. They just pound you. And I give Nick credit for sticking with the run. Miles had 21 carries for 78 yards early in the fourth quarter. He was averaging 3.7, and Nick just kept giving him the ball. And you feel like with Miles, he's going to bust one, and he did. He got 34 yards, I guess, on his last carry. And you just stick with it. I like the game plan. I like the play calling. I think depending on the team, you can be conservative and you're going to win the game. And I thought that was the case today.
Yeah. The offensive line is fun to watch right now. And even Nate Herbig, he did some good things in the run game. They even pulled him a few times on some runs. So he played well. And the thing we have to mention is Jeff Stoutland got taken to the hospital before the game, evaluated for some sort of health scare, and he ends up back on the sideline. That probably gave them a little boost too. Not that Roy Isman, the assistant O-line coach, can handle things, but I think there's something to the idea that, this guy who's an all-time great position coach here has had his unit playing as well as we've ever seen them play. They think they're not going to have him. Then all of a sudden he shows back up on the bench. That probably gives them a little bit of a boost. And the thing in this game, you mentioned it, but running without Jalen Hurts was a big test because he opens up so much in the run game because teams have to account for him. And a lot of it is like, you don't have to block the end if you're reading him. And that's what a lot of their runs have been with Hurts, is that you can leave a guy unblocked and kind of take him out of it that way. You have to block everyone when you don't have a quarterback with that threat. And they did it really effectively. And you're right, Rube. I give them credit for sticking with the run when it wasn't picking up chunks, because it had that feel like Miles is going to break one. He's going to break one. Right. And it was a 34-yarder. It felt like he was real close to stretching it to however far it needed to be for a touchdown. He came pretty close to it. And it felt like that. It was like, that's why you keep handing the ball off to Miles, because eventually he's going to break one.
Yeah, I think he's the first Eagles running back with 22 carries in the game, believe it or not, since Josh Adams, who was in the stadium here today playing for the Jets. I think Doug gave Josh Adams 10. There was that 1 3-game stretch where Josh Adams was like the lead runner. He 70, 80 yards in
And
three straight.
leading the team that year, 5'11",
He
I
did.
think, overall. Yeah.
He did. He led the team in rushing. So
That's one of those things that's like clogging my brain. I know Josh Adams had 511 yards when he led. Like, I'll never be able to forget that.
do you know where he went to high school?
No, I don't.
Central Bucks West. No,
Oh,
Central
that's
Bucks South. My bad. He went
Oh,
to South.
geez.
Yeah,
You're going to get some angry emails.
I know. He's a Doylestown. I think he's a Warminster guy. But yeah, so I think everything, all that is true. I think the O line is really. I mean, the O line is the key to this team. Honestly, the O line is the key to everything. And it was great to see Miles. Hopefully he's okay. I mean, he's so banged up. This whole team just needs this bye so bad, but we'll talk about that later. I tend to go off topic, and I apologize for that. But Miles misses. It's a shame he missed his career high by 2 yards.
Yeah, and he probably would have gotten it if he stays in the game.
It's crazy. I mean, this team didn't run the ball at all the first month.
He had 3 carries, Rube, earlier this year. He had 3 carries in a game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the third one was like with a minute left, and they were down by 30. It's incredible. What a transformation. I mean, they're now first team in 36 years with 185 yards in 6 straight games. You know how hard that is to do?
Very hard.
Like, we were coming up here. I was driving up here. I'm thinking, well, at least they're not going to run for 185, but maybe they can run for like 115, to run for 185 without Jordan Howard, Jalen Hurts, and Boston Scott that's mind-blowing, really. And it's a testament to this O-line. And there's so much to explore in Valley Forge and Montgomery County, PA. Montgomery County is composed of charming towns and main streets, each with its own personality, style, and unique vibe. Whether you're looking to get away with your family or enjoy a special trip with friends, leave behind the stress of planning and use our guide to find some of the most amazing things to do. Explore which town and which main street suits you the best, or visit them all. Visit makeitmainstreet.com to plan your getaway today.
So, Rube, the first touchdown the Eagles gave up, I'm fine chalking it up. They would have liked to stop the Jets there, but it's a short field. All of a sudden, they're basically in the red zone. Fine. Give up that touchdown, whatever. After that, you wanted to see them tighten up, but it didn't happen quick enough.
No, I totally agree. And look, Zach Wilson's thrown 4 touchdowns all year. To let him throw 2 touchdowns, I mean, he looked like an NFL quarterback in the first half, and it was getting a little hairy because you're like, are they going to be able to stop this guy? And they were running the ball. I thought they tackled poorly today. I thought their
linebackers got exposed a little bit.
Yeah, I thought it was a bad day for the linebackers. It was a bad tackling day. I mean, they ran the ball way. I mean, they averaged 5 yards a carry. They finally had to stop running it because they got behind, two possessions. But there was a lot not to like early, and it was a little hairy. And honestly, you never felt like, even when they were losing, I never felt like they were going to lose the game because they were just scoring every time they got the ball, and they did till the fourth quarter. But yeah, you wanted to see the defense really kind of wake up a little bit. I mean, it seemed like, special teams with that 79-yard kick return to open the game, and the defense just weren't ready to play. They got their act together, but I mean, they got no pressure early. The coverage was terrible. Tackling was bad. It was really shocking to see the Jets offense, which has been so bad. I mean, Zach Wilson had never thrown a first half touchdown in his career. He threw 2 of them. That was only 8th game, but still, I mean, this is one of the worst quarterbacks. I mean, his passer rating is the lowest by a first-round pick in 12 years. I just thought the Eagles gave him way too much early. And, yeah, they did get their act together. They shut him out in the second half. They shut him out for the last 40 minutes of the game. Sweat had a sack and a half. Epsy had the pick. But I thought those are plays they should have been making the whole game. You can't be too disappointed. They pitched a shutout over their last like 6 or 7 drives, but I was disappointed, really disappointed in the way they came out, because against the Jets, you can get away with giving up 3 quick touchdowns. Plus, their kicker stinks. He missed 2 PATs. Then they went for it on the third one. They didn't score. So even with 3 touchdowns, they only had 18 points. First time that's ever happened, by the way. I looked that up.
Ever?
Ever. Well, it's the first time a team has scored 3 touchdowns in a game and had just 18 points. So it could have happened to start a game and then they got a 7. But yeah, it's the first time teams ever scored 3 touchdowns in a game and not scored 19 or more points. I did look that up.
I'll never forget this game. I'll remember where I was when I saw that happen.
They're putting a plaque up down there actually by the one tunnel to commemorate the moment. But yeah, I look, 18 points is, you give up 18 points, you're happy. Anything under 20, it's a good day. But I didn't think it was a particularly good day for the defense. They got their act together. You kind of thought they would, but you can't get away with that against good teams. Certainly that defensive effort was, to me, yeah, they finished great, but you can't let what happened those first 3 possessions happen, period.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where you felt like they'd really be able to get after Zach Wilson and force him into bad throws. And eventually they started getting some pressure later in the game when they had a lead and the Jets were kind of forced into throwing the ball more. But early, he had some pretty clean pockets.
Yes, he did.
And I didn't expect that. I thought they'd be able to get some pressure on him.
I did too. I thought it'd be like a 5-sack game, kind of like Detroit, 6-sack game. I thought they might shut out the Jets. Honestly, I thought it might be, one of those games or like the Detroit game where they scored 6 at the end. Man, this defensive line they're just not as good as they should be. And they got 2 sacks. They got 23 13 games. It's just not enough. There's times Sweat looks like he looks like a great pass rusher, and then he just disappears. Derek Barnett had one nice tackle. He's still got, what's he on? Sitting on two sacks this year?
Yeah, I think so.
Fletcher made
Hargrave got another half.
Hargrave got another half. What's he got, 7.5?
Yeah. I think he split that one with Sweat, who ended up with 1.5, right?
Yeah. This defensive line just isn't good enough. They're not as good as they should be. They're not as good as the resumes don't add up to the finished product. And I don't know why it is. They've gone through different coaches, different schemes. They're just not as good as they should be.
Yeah. You know who is pretty good? Darius Slay.
Yes, he is.
I mean, he had that one. I can think of 2 plays today. He had that one PBU down the sideline against the rookie 8. Got his hand in there to knock it away. And then there was the other one where it was like, what was it, like a 9-second play, and he covered all 9 seconds. Like
I should say, Wilson should have been sacked on the play.
Mm-hmm. But he wasn't, and Slay covered for like 8 seconds.
He did. He's probably. I mean, I would have said a month and a half into the season, Hargrave was your defensive MVP, but it's Slay. It's clearly Slay. He's a real deal. And I really thought he was going to get a pick 6 today. When I was watching some of those throws, Zach Wilson was chucking up there in the fourth quarter. I was like, Slay's going to be all over one of these.
Yeah. There was one that bounced and he still tried to return it.
Yes, he did. I think he just likes returning them. I thought McPherson. I mean, look, Steve Nelson left the game pretty early, late second quarter, early third quarter, but.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I thought McPherson did okay. I mean, you're not facing a really high-powered offense, but
he had that one defensive hold, but I didn't think it was kind of ticky-tacky to me. I thought he handled it. Honestly, he played all right when he's had to go in there.
Yeah, he's been okay. So, a lot of injuries that we got to sort out when the Eagles get back next week, but.
What do you make of them rotating at safety? Today it was McLeod who lost snaps. We'll have to see what the snap counts are in the morning, but it's weird to see Rodney on the sideline.
Yeah, it is. I love Rodney. I've said this 100 times that the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl without Rodney. He made 2 incredible open field tackles that saved touchdowns on Gronk. But I don't think he's played particularly well. He's coming off a very serious injury. He's 31? Is he now?
Over 30, yeah.
I just don't think he's running the way he needs to, the way we're used to seeing him run. I just, it's tough. I mean, I don't see. I don't see the explosion when he's running that we're used to seeing. I like Epps. I think Epps is a nice player, and he did get the one takeaway they had today. This team just doesn't get a lot of takeaways.
Very quietly, safety is becoming right at the top of their list in the offseason. They have to figure out that position.
I've got two mock drafts. The second one will be posted Tuesday. I've got him taking Kyle Hamilton in both of them. So I don't think it'll happen, but I would do it.
Good luck.
I know.
Yeah, always a very good player. I don't know if their positional
evaluations. How we might see that I'm writing it and decide not to take him based on that. But yeah, it is. I mean, I don't think Rodney's going to be here next year. I don't think Anthony Harris is going to be here next year. So, I mean, there's no real air.
They definitely both won't be here.
Who's that?
They definitely both won't be here.
Oh yeah, no doubt. So yeah, that is something to keep an eye on. But I do like Epps, and that was I thought that was the play that really kind of, any hope the Jets had, because they were driving a little bit there and they were at midfield. Any hope they had, that play pretty much ended. So that was big. Yeah, I can't come down too hard on the defense. 18 points, but there were things there that did really bother me.
Yeah, I think it is encouraging though that they tightened up. It probably took too long, but they did tighten up.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, what's your takeaway in the defense? Well, they never should have been in that position, but yeah, they did really bounce back, and that's what you look for. And I don't think it was anything Gannon did. I think they just kind of started playing better. They started executing. They started tackling. I think that was the biggest thing. They just missed a lot of tackles early, and I mean, the Jets got yards that they had no business getting. It was more what the Eagles didn't do than anything the Jets did. So, yeah, but it was good to see them finally. Look, I think for their last 6 games, they've held the opponent to 18 or fewer points. And, and one of the games they gave up 29 when, most of them were in the last couple of minutes. But I think there's signs of life in the defense. I just the lack of pressure is always going to be a problem until they draft themselves a couple of linemen this offseason.
Yeah, and they probably will, knowing this team.
Hey, score big with the AAA Eagles MVP membership, along with the superb roadside assistance and discounts you've come to expect from AAA. Get exclusive Eagles-related perks. For all the details, visit AAA.com/Eagles. It's the Nissan year-end sales event with last chance offers you'll want to hang on to. Shop your local Nissan store today or visit nissanusa.com. Better hang on to those deals before they slip away.
Reuben, it's now the bye week, week 14. It's a crazy late bye week. I think this is as late as it goes. Latest Eagles have ever had, right?
No, they had a week 15 bye once. They used to do that. They used to have week 15 bye. I think it was when there were 2 byes. I'll look that up. But yeah, and I think Nick deserves a lot of credit for, he started turning Wednesday practices into walkthroughs. Mm-hmm. There's been there was a Monday off a couple weeks ago. I think he's really aware of the strain on these guys. I mean, that's a lot, and they did have a mini bye after the preseason, but they've been basically going from, I guess it was a full bye at the end of the preseason. It was like 12 days. But they've been going since end of July, early August. So it's a grind. It's an incredible grind. It's a mental grind, because when you're not practicing, you're in meetings, you're studying, you're getting, you're with your coaches. They're coming in early. It's a lot. And they need it. I think they need it physically and they need it mentally. But I give Nick credit for finding ways to keep them fresh. He gives the older guys days off from practice, the over 30 guys. Practices have been short, keeps them off their feet. Walkthroughs help. And you can see, 13 weeks in, I think they played great today, but they look fresh. They look sharp. They look mentally sharp. They're playing hard, and you didn't see any signs at any point this year of a let up physically. And I think that really speaks highly of Nick and his ability to keep them ready, keep them prepared while keeping them off their feet as much as possible. And they all deserve this.
Yeah, and a few guys it's going to mean a lot more to than the others. One of them, Jalen Hurts, obviously misses this game, but Nick says he expects Jalen Hurts to be able to come back and play against Washington in Week 15, so that's good news. And then Miles Sanders, who left the game late with an ankle injury of his own that he's been dealing with now since October.
Wouldn't it be Week 14? 15, right? 15, right? 15, you're right.
Yeah,
my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the bye week's Week 14. We just talked about that.
Yeah, I know we did.
Yeah.
I'm easily confused. Don't you know that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Miles will, he says he'll be back after the bye week. It's the same ankle for him. So ankles are tough. You can play a whole game and then all of a sudden you tweak it a little bit and you see what happens. So those two guys I expect to have back. Now, the one we'll have to find out more information on, and the scariest one of all is Jason Kelce. He didn't look good walking off the field, Reuben.
No, he didn't. And, he's coming off that knee from last week. All the players will tell you they hate this turf here. It's the worst to play on. So you just hope for the best with Kelce. I know one thing: if that dude can walk, he will play. I mean, he's the toughest SOB I've ever seen. Yeah.
I feel like they're gonna tape his leg to Herbie next to him just so they can get into the line, and he'd do anything he could.
Yeah, I mean you can afford to lose just about anybody on this team, but losing him.
I mean, would you put? He's number one for me. I don't think it's him, right?
Yeah, it's him. And I don't know. I think you might have to put Dickerson at center.
Yeah, the Herbie thing, he snapped it immediately right over Minshew's head.
He just can't snap the football, and I mean we haven't seen Dickerson do it, but he's played a lot of center.
But it would really screw everything up. I mean, it would screw up that left side of the line. Now you've got now you probably have, it's a lot. You have to put Sua in there at left guard.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Brandon Brooks can come back. We haven't really heard anything. Every time we ask Nick about him, he says he doesn't have anything, no updates. Yeah. So I think that's an extreme long shot. Would you agree at this point?
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. That would help.
That would help, yeah, if he's healthy. But
help a lot.
Hope for the best. And the other option, I mean, they have Luke Juriga. I mean, he really hasn't played, but he's at least is a center by trade.
Well, and they have Brett Toth, who's been starting to snap the ball. I don't know if you want to just say even snapping the ball a little bit, get in there, but you can't have Herbie snapping it over his head.
You can't have Herbie at center. You just can't. And I mean, that could have been, Minshew actually did a really nice job to get back there and get on that ball. But, and Herbie had 2 costly penalties here last week playing center and then moved to guard, and he was okay there. He's an okay guard. But, look, they've already lost Sayamalu, Brooks, Driscoll. They just keep – at some point, and I think we know that when that point is when Kelce can't play. That's when that O-line just won't be the same.
Yeah. All right, let's finish off this pod with a negativity corner. After a big win. I'll go to you first. What do you got?
Well, we touched on this earlier. The linebackers tackling was really bad, especially early. You just can't let Zach Wilson put up 3 touchdowns against you. And, a lot. I mean, the first drive, like you said, it was a short field, 20 yards. But you just can't give up long drives to him. And I thought the reason they were able to extend those drives was short plays turned into long plays because they didn't tackle well. So that would be my number one entry in Dave's negativity corner, and not a good reflection on the linebackers.
Yeah, that's fair. I want to go with Jalen Reagor. It just feels like every time the ball even gets close to this guy, everyone has to hold their breath. I don't know what you do. I'd sit him. It doesn't seem like they're going to sit him. But it's every time. It's, the kick return that bounces at the 2-yard line. And first off, that was the wildest bounce I've ever seen a football take, but he froze there for a second, and then he muffs a punt. He gets a 0-yard run. He did have one play that went positive today, but he just doesn't give you anything. And the snap counts are going to look real bad. I'm going to warn everyone. He was out there. He was for most of the plays in 13 personnel, he was the receiver on the field. So I'm guessing, without seeing him, I'm guessing he had a ton of snaps in this game. And he might have outsnapped their other receivers, which is going to make it look really bad.
Yeah, you're right. This is not a negative thing, and I know it's Dave's negativity corner, but I do want to mention it was nice to see Quez Watkins involved, 3 for 60, mid-range game. He really just hasn't been a factor. This is his most yards since week 2. He had the big game against the Niners. He's a good player. He's a good receiver, and I think this is a better offense. Well, I think it's a better offense when him and Gainwell are both involved and both getting targets, and it just makes them more unpredictable and tougher to defend. So that was good to see today. I like Quez. I think there's something there. They got to get him going.
Yeah, you got another negative corner submission?
I don't think so, really. No, that was it. No,
I'll give you the special teams. You can't let
that's true.
That return go. And 2 things I wanted to mention, and we didn't really talk about Dallas Goedert. Had a career game, certainly deserves his credit. And then Jake Elliott, he's become automatic. I mean, he's making a legitimate Pro Bowl bid right now.
I think he's made 15 in a row. Was he 4 for 4 today? Every kick he makes is right down the middle.
He's been great.
He was awful. I was really concerned. I mean, he missed 2 field goals under 30 yards last year, and he was like 3% for the year. Yeah. He's just been money. He doesn't have a miss shorter than 46 yards this year. He's made 15 in a row. He's up to 92%, I believe, and he's gaining on Alex Henry for the career. The Eagles' all-time career record for, I think, accuracy, which is like 86%. I think he's just kicking with no. He alluded to a lack of confidence last year. That's long gone. I mean, he's just got so much confidence and striking the ball great. I think having a kicking coach has helped him. He talked about that. Not a special teams coach, but a kicking coach has definitely helped. And he's been money. What was the other thing you mentioned?
Goddard.
Goddard's the first Eagles tight end with 2 25-yard touchdowns in a game since Pete Retzlaff, 1956, against the Cowboys at the Cotton Bowl. Is there something you'd like to ask me, Dave?
No, I don't know. Nothing.
I remember it well.
All right. If you guys enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. Keep those Spotify mentions coming through too. We like seeing
it's a lot of fun.
The top of your podcast lists. That's all we got. And if you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. For Reuben, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.